How's it going, guys? My name is Tavarish, and today I'm going to show you a snippet from a new podcast I'm doing with Andrew Howell called Wrench Every Day. Now, we're going to be posting this every single weekday on the Wrench Every Day channel, so be sure to subscribe, like, and ask us lots and lots of questions, because we're going to be talking about tools, wrenching, engine swaps, and everything having to do with cars and car culture. So check it out in the link below.
My first car was a 1998 Nissan Maxima GLE. So the GLE was the top of the line luxury model that was automatic only. I bought the car for $6,200. I worked in retail for a year and saved up, and I still had to borrow money from my parents. I had to borrow a few grand from them. And I bought that car, and about a month later, this is before I knew anything about cars. A month later, I needed a transmission rebuild.
Oh, nice.
So that transmission was rebuilt to the tune of $2,000. And
I feel like I'm almost familiar with transmission issues.
yeah, so that transmission was, after it was rebuilt, and thank you very much to my father who paid for that, because I did not have the money to pay for that.
Oh yeah, big ups to my parents also for helping me a lot financially in the early years. Because I couldn't have done it without them either.
Of
to
course,
be honest,
yeah.
I'm very fortunate to have parents that were like, "Hey, we can help you with that."
Yeah. So that car was the start of Tavarish as a car guy. I learned how to do everything on that car. And when I mean everything, I mean absolutely everything. The very first thing I did on that car was taillights. And I had to do, I was doing red clear taillights, which is they had like a red and amber taillight from stock, but I wanted them to match the red clears on the trunk. So I got red clear taillights. And what ended up happening was it took me 3 to 4 hours to change out my taillights, because I didn't know that there was this RTV on it. There was this, this glue, and I'm like, why aren't they coming out? And I'm trying to pry it and everything. This is the level of DIY that I was. Second thing I did was a stereo install, and it got to the point where I didn't know what a remote wire was. So I was wondering why this thing wasn't turning on. I'm like, power and ground is run, all that stuff, and then we actually ended up calling Kenwood. We called like the Kenwood, and we're like, this thing isn't turning on, and they were like, yeah, do you have the remote hooked up? And we're like, what's that? So that was that.
I think that literally every aftermarket stereo install that I've ever done in any car I've ever owned was a Kenwood.
Yeah. Kenwood makes good stuff.
Yeah, they do.
So
Shout out to Kenwood. Big ups.
oh yeah,
Big ups to Kenwood.
Yeah. So I did a lot of stuff on that car. I did my first manual swap.
On your first car?
My first car.
Man, you dug in.
It was my only car, and it was an interesting thing, because I ended up rear-ending somebody. Well, not rear-ending somebody. Sort of, I wasn't paying attention. I was a stupid 18-year-old kid, and I grazed some Nissan Xterra. So I screwed up his bumper.
Bro, Nissan on Nissan?
It's a Nissan and Nissan Crime. That's right. So I screwed up his bumper. It's like a plastic thing. I had full coverage at the time. Again, thanks to parents. And the insurance paid for my car and his car, but instead of my car going to the body shop, I just found a parts car, and the parts car was a white Nissan Maxima like mine. It was a little bit older. The paint wasn't exactly the same shade, but I didn't really care. So it was a white Nissan Maxima, but 5-speed. So I said, I can kill two birds with one stone.
Yes.
So they're giving me, $1,500 for insurance. What I can do is I can buy this car for like $800, and then I can pocket the rest, or give it to my parents or whatever. So I ended up doing that. I bought this car that apparently it was actually a pretty prominent race car. I know that there's not a lot of Maxima race cars, but it was actually a pretty prominent car. It just had a blown engine.
I've seen video of an older guy destroying a Porsche, I think, on a drag strip with a manual Maxima.
Right. So yeah,
and he's like power shifting. Like, I feel like he's gonna snap the shift lever.
I think he was. It was like a Mexican looking guy or an Indian looking guy. I can't remember. He was definitely looked had that look about him.
Yeah.
And
I
then
just remember a sweet mustache.
Oh
Super
yeah.
sweet mustache.
He's like mid 40s,
yeah.
complete dad mode, and he's just ripping it.
Yeah, absolutely ripping it.
Yeah. So that was a Maxima Turbo. There's this other guy that was a 5th gen Maxima. I had a 4th gen. There's a few guys that did 4th gen Maximas that did nitrous, and they got into the 10s, and that was a huge deal for the Maxima community because nobody ever got into the 10s.
That's a huge deal. Period. Like that's a fast. You owe me a 10-second car.
Not for the GTRs and Supras and
Blah blah blah. But like how much is a Maxima compared to one of those?
yeah, that's true. So this Maxima, I did the 5-speed swap. I did a 3.5 liter swap from a. I always would say that, oh, it's the same block as a 350Z. Technically, it's correct, but it's not because it's a front-wheel drive block. It had a different heads. It had different intake, and yeah, it didn't make as much power. It didn't have variable valve timing for the intake and exhaust like a 350Z did. But for all intents and purposes, I would say I got a 350Z motor in my Maxima, and I had 3.5 in there. It ran sort of good-ish. Good enough. I got like a 13.8 at the track, which was fine.
Yeah, no, that's plenty quick.
Ton of wheel hop, but it was a fun little car. And then I ended up getting rid of it. I sold it to one of my friends who also had a Maxima, and then I had a Lexus.